Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Theatre Tuesdays. And now we've been doing this for, I think this is the ninth one, which is really crazy how time just goes by so fast. But, but I've really been enjoying it, get a chance to talk to a lot of fun people. And today we are doing another one of our monthly recaps for Utah theater, but we're also talking about some of our favorites of 2023 so far. And I'm theater critic Rachel Wagner, and Maren is here.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. I just got back from a family vacation, so I'm kind of exhausted, but I'm here.
Yeah, you got to go to DC, right?
Yes, we went to
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Did you get to go to any performances, any theater or anything like that
We
there?
went to some concerts. Most of my kids are musicians, so
Oh, nice.
we went to a concert at Wolf Trap. Wolf Trap is the only national park that's dedicated to the performing arts, which is really amazing and a lot of fun. And they do some children's theater there, but that they didn't have anything going when we were there, unfortunately. But we got to see, because we were there on Memorial Day, so we got to see the Marine Corps band, which was really fun. And then we went to the Kennedy Center, but we didn't see a show. They had some shows going on, but we went for a symphony. So
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, it was so fun. And the guy who did the who is the conductor for the National Symphony right now is so good. Oh my gosh, he's an Italian born conductor, but he gets into it in a way that I have not seen any conductor get into it before. And it was like watching a show, watching him conduct the music. And I had the time of my life watching him. I'd watch him conduct anything.
That's amazing to watch somebody that's really just completely invested. Like that was one of the things I liked about the movie Tar.
Yes.
You get to I wish we'd gotten even more of it, because they didn't have that much performance in the movie. But when we take those moments of her just completely becoming one with the music, even at the end, is pretty incredible.
And that's what this guy was like. And he just, my oldest daughter, who is the one who's much more into theater than music, and all the rest of the kids are more into music, she was just, and this guy's the guy to watch. She had such a good time watching him. So
now, did you just let them your kids pick any instrument that they wanted to play? Or
I just let them all pick whatever, which, my 12-year-old is a very good drummer, and a lot of people think, how in the world, but she started playing drums when she was way young, and I put her in lessons when she was 8. And like at her last drum recital, she played Metallica. So
isn't that interesting?
Nope. I let them pick their own instruments. So
yeah. Well, you obviously have a lot of patience.
Yeah. Well, my brother played the drums too, so I think I just have never really known a life without it. So
yeah. Well, my sister plays the violin, and the learning curve is rough.
I've got 3 of my kids play violin, and it's tough at first, but once they get good, it's one of my favorite instruments. It's hard when you learn it, but once you learn it, I think the violin is so gorgeous.
It is beautiful, for sure. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip.
Yeah, it was so wonderful.
That's good. I'm actually taking a trip. It'll be this weekend. I'm leaving on the 8th. I'm going to Kansas randomly. I'm going for Christmas Con. Christmas Con.
Wow, is that because of all the stuff you do with Hallmark?
Yeah, for Hallmark's podcast, we're going to cover the red carpet. Last year it was at they have one in New Jersey that's in December, but I'm too busy to go to that one. But last year they had the mid-year one was in Pasadena, which makes way more sense. But at the actual headquarters of Hallmark Cards, not the media company, but the cards, is in Kansas. That's the only, in Kansas City. That's the only reason I can figure that they did it. I don't know. It's very weird, but hopefully it'll be fun.
No, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. Why not? So I'm looking forward to having a break. It's been a while since I had a break, and I started this new little part-time job a month ago working at the Cinemark, and I'm just ready for just a break. It'd be
Yeah,
nice.
makes sense.
Yeah. So with your traveling, were you able to see any theater in May?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna kind of count it as May because it opened in May, even though I ended up seeing it yesterday, and so technically it was June.
Right, right, right.
But I got to see the tour of Tina Turner, the Tina
Mm-hmm.
Turner musical.
Yeah.
And my goodness, like I knew her story, but it's just so different when you've read about someone or then when you
Yeah.
see it performing live. Plus, it was, she passed away this last week.
I
And
know. I'd seen it during our trip,
right, okay.
and so when it wasn't part, it ended up there weren't enough people that signed up for it to be part of the discount,
Hmm.
package for Utah theater lovers. So
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I've already seen it, so I didn't get a ticket, but then I regretted it because it would have been very meaningful, especially after just so
Right.
soon
And they
after the
actually
passing.
they have a cast member come out and talk about that, she had just passed away and that this was the first performance of the show. This cast's performance here in Utah has been the first performance of the show since her passing this week. Um and that, so that, of course they dedicate it to her honor and everything.
Mhm.
And it just, oh wow, it hits so well. And not having seen it in New York and not having seen Adrienne Warren, who won the Tony for it, I had wondered going to see it whether or not this would be as well done.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, it was well done.
That's
she
awesome.
she was so good. So yeah, I saw that. And then I saw the prom at
Mhm.
Pioneer.
When you went to which day did you see it?
I saw it close to closing night. It was the
Oh, okay.
20th of May.
How was the crowd when you saw it?
Quite good.
Oh,
Quite
that's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Because I saw it opening night and it was not good. I mean,
Yeah.
it there were a lot of empty seats. I don't even know if it was
Well,
half
that's
full.
too bad.
And so that concerned me that like I can't
That
believe there's so few people here.
sure.
I'm glad to hear that it seems like it gained
Yeah,
some.
it must have built up. I mean, it wasn't sold out,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, but yeah, I would say it was full, but not sold out.
Hmm.
And then I got to go to something I'd never done before, which was kind of surprising for me with all my years in theater, but I think it just is that it never really fell in my ages or whatever. But I got to go to the Utah High School Musical Theater Awards.
Huh.
And not all the high schools in Utah participate in them. And so I was trying to learn a little bit more because my sister teaches at a high school, but her high school doesn't participate in them. And she was telling me that, you have to do so much to qualify to participate in them, like allow the judges to come to so many performances and all these other different things. And a lot of times it just comes down to funding. And my sister teaches at a lower funded school. And
Hmm.
so she's just chosen not to put her funding there. And so a lot of the lower funded schools don't participate, which makes sense and is also sad. Like it just reminds me how much I wish the arts were better funded in our schools.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
my daughter's school does participate, and so that's why I went, is because her school was nominated for some things. They didn't win anything, but that's okay. It was still cool to go and see and see all the different talented kids all throughout Utah. And actually a kid that my daughter has done some community theater with for years and years, he did win an award, which doesn't surprise me. He's one of the most talented kids I've ever known in my entire life. But it was also really cool just to watch all the talent throughout Utah, all the up and coming teenage talent, and then also knowing that this isn't all of the high schools in Utah, that this isn't all of the talent, just
Yeah.
a little sliver of it. It was fascinating to see all that and see everybody.
That would be very nostalgic for me because I have such fond memories of performing in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just in the choirs, but
Uh-huh.
I mean the group scenes, but it was
Right.
always such a fun thing to just be part of and put on together. And
Right, for sure. Me too.
yeah.
So yeah, I found it very nostalgic and also very neat to kind of see what the kids did. And also was really neat to see all the different types of shows that schools are
Mhm.
doing. I mean, there were several shows that were repeats, like a lot of the shows schools were doing Matilda and some of the others. But then like there
Mhm.
was a school that did Sweeney Todd, and I'm like, wow, a high
Mm.
school, and just just stuff like that where I was very,
Yeah.
very impressed.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. So what did you think of the prom, both in the performances, the Pioneer Theater Company, and the show as itself? What do you think?
so once in a while, I just, I go to a show kind of blind because with as much as I see and as much as I do, and of course
Hmm.
this not being my day job,
Sure.
it just some things fall off the radar for me, and the prom was one of them. And I did feel bad that I never saw it in New York, even though I go to New York as often as I do, specifically because there was a graduate from Weaver State University who was in the ensemble of the prom on Broadway.
Mm.
And I know one of the professors at Weaver State. And so I kept thinking, maybe one of these times maybe I'll go and I'll see her, and it just didn't work out. But and I never watched the Netflix
Okay,
movie.
so I was just gonna ask you.
Yeah, I never watched the Netflix movie. I have a list of like 50 movies that I'm behind on that I want to watch, and so I had heard maybe one song. I didn't know much, and it was just, again, nothing against it. It wasn't a priority of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna know this show. So I went in kind of blind, and that's nice when you don't have anything, because the opportunities for me to do that with shows are so rare that it's really fun when I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I had a great time with it because of how little I knew. And so I think I enjoyed it more than I probably would have if I had known more about it,
Hmm.
because I thought it was just fun and new and interesting. Because then after I left, I thought, okay, do I remember any of the songs? Do I remember any of it? And
Yeah.
I don't quite so much, except for the one where him and the cast of Godspell were singing about love your neighbor. That
Yeah.
was that one was
That's the most
fantastic.
memorable song. I was
Yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Love Thy Neighbor.
Yeah, I love Thy Neighbor. That one was very memorable. And I thought that the lead girl was super talented. I thought she was
Hmm.
super, super talented. And then the lead woman, she reminded me a lot of Patti LuPone. Like,
Yeah.
and I loved the costumes. I kept telling my husband that, like, I wanted the lead woman's wardrobe. Like,
Hmm.
just, I guess I'm a diva at heart or something, because I wanted the lead woman's wardrobe. So I enjoyed it very, very much. And I enjoyed having an experience of just seeing something new. But then, yeah, afterwards, I was like, but is it like completely memorable? And maybe that's why it's not as popular as some of the others that stay and don't close and whatever,
Hmm.
is because, yeah, I didn't come out of the show singing all of the songs or whatever.
I definitely could see it becoming a high school theater favorite. Can you
Sure,
just
sure.
see like and it has like a huge heart and it makes you smile.
Yep,
I was
absolutely.
it's trying so hard to be positive, and I think for the most part it succeeds in that.
Yep.
I think that I wish that I liked the book better of the musical. I just wish that it was just about the teenager. I really don't need these quote unquote celebrities. Uh,
Right.
because I don't know, I felt like a lot of times they were in a different show than I forget the girl's name, but I that even her songs were so different in timbre and feel and tone and just everything than the celebrity songs, which were so campy. And so
Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I feel exactly what you're saying
Yeah.
there.
And it's not like a deal breaker or anything. I still had a good time.
Right,
But
right.
I, I I can understand why some people, don't love say it's not like the strongest show as far as the book, and the
Right,
songs do feel kind of all over the place, I would say.
right. Absolutely.
But yeah, I agree with what you were saying as far as the performances, and yeah, Love Thy Neighbor is, I think, the highlight of the show.
Yeah, so much
Mhm.
fun. So much
Yeah.
fun.
Well, so I saw a bunch of, let's see here. I saw 10, 11. I saw 11 shows
Ooh.
I know, crazy. In May, including the prom, which I reviewed for UTBA. And then I also reviewed, which one for them? I guess that was it for UTBA because I just did one
Mhm.
for them last night. Just did the something rotten. But the probably the highlight was I saw Jekyll and Hyde at Draper Historic Theater, which I kind of had the impression that Draper Historic Theater did a lot of parody, and that's just not my thing.
Right.
And so I'd never really taken it that seriously.
Oh, they've
But
done some really good stuff. One of my favorite Macbeths that I've ever seen that was here. I saw one in New York that I really loved, but then one of my favorite ones here in Utah was done at Draper Historic Theater.
oh my gosh, well, I was really impressed. I mean, it was a million times better. I'd never seen Jekyll and Hyde before. Of course, I'd
Mm,
heard this, the songs. I'd
mhm,
heard that people don't really like the book on that one as well. And I
mhm.
can understand why, because it takes so long for him to become Hyde
Right, right.
in the story.
Yeah,
But
I have mixed feelings about it. I've seen some really amazing productions of Jekyll and Hyde, and then I've seen
yeah,
some really awful ones. So I think it just depends on the casting and the direction.
yeah. And they did an incredible job. And particularly, I was double cast, but I saw Tanner Tate
Uh-huh.
playing Jekyll and Hyde, and I thought he was unbelievable. Like, just way too good a quality for this tiny little venue in Draper. I
Right.
mean, was so good at like the transformations, and his voice was so good. And I just was really impressed with his whole performance and everything. And then the Lucy was also really strong. Um, but yeah, it was a million times better than I expected. That's for sure.
I love going to shows like that where you walk
Yeah.
in and you're just like, okay, that blew me away. There's a review I wrote a couple years ago, and it was for a Newsies that I saw at Terrace, and I had already seen 3 Newsies that summer, and I was just like, great, I have to see another Newsies.
Yeah.
And the woman who directed it, she is a social worker by profession, but then does directing on the side. And she just hit to the heart of the Children's Crusade and what
Uh-huh.
Newsies is
Oh
really
man.
about in a way that I had never seen before or
Yeah.
since, really, when it comes to what that show's about. And I love Newsies. Like, I can't, the movie Newsies came out when I was in 8th grade. I love Newsies,
Yeah.
but I just had seen too much of it that summer. And I
Yeah.
was literally walking into the theater thinking, please no, please no. And I was simply blown away, and in so many ways that I didn't expect. And I have no shade at all for Terrace. I have done shows at Terrace, but
Yeah.
it is a small theater in the round. And it's just it's a tough space. And I
Yeah.
thought, how in the world are they going to do a show as big as Newsies?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, blew me away. I love shows like that.
Yeah. One for me like that was for UTB, I drove all the way to Payson to see them do Matilda.
Oh, okay.
It was unbelievable. It was at Payson High School, Payson Community Theater.
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine it being done better. Like, it,
Yeah,
in every regard, it was absolutely
yeah,
outstanding. The choreography, everything with the kids, the production,
yep.
it was so good.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that big a fan of Matilda. I mean, I like it fine, but I think it's way over long. Um and so I'm not like a huge fan of it, but it was just so well done. You can't deny it.
In fact, that's something I wanted to bring up when you were asking about like best of it so far in 2023 and
Uh-huh.
whatever. I just in general, I wanted to bring up, like, I travel for and see things for theater, and I've been so lucky to see things all over. But my husband and I have talked over and over, and we've said, what's the difference between some of the great theater uh, um, in London and in New York and
Hmm.
whatever, and then the stuff here in Utah or your community theaters or high
Yeah.
schools or whatever. And it just comes down to money and sound,
Yeah.
honestly.
We've talked
Because
about that before, but it's true about
yeah,
sound. That's the
because
biggest determining factor.
yeah, because everything else, like, I see actors and actresses at our local community theaters that are just um so beyond what I can even possibly imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, so I'll go through some of these other ones real quick. I saw Singing in the Rain at the Draper Amphitheater. And I have to admit, I was like a little bit disappointed just because I'd seen previous years, I'd seen Mamma Mia there and I'd seen Hairspray there, and it was so good. The Hairspray was better than the touring one that I reviewed for UTBA. It was outstanding. And this was good. It was just more an amateur production in pretty much every way, except for the costumes were incredible. Like everybody was trying really hard and it was entertaining and I had a good time, but it just wasn't as good as those two previous productions. So I was a
Yeah.
little disappointed, but it's still definitely worth checking out.
Mhm.
And then I saw Avenue Q for the first time, which I'd never seen before.
Okay.
And this was at Sanctuary. It's like a black box theater, maybe 50 people. It's really small. But
Where is that at? I've seen advertisements for it and I didn't know where it was.
it's like South South Salt Lake kind
Okay.
of area.
Okay.
You make sure if you do go, make sure you go really early because there's like no parking,
Okay.
like
Okay.
none. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. The great puppeteers that
Right. Sure.
that did a I'd never seen before, but I thought it was well done. I saw Freaky Friday at the Empress, which is a show that I have very mixed feelings about. The actors, the mom and daughter actors did absolutely phenomenal. They were really good at like capturing each other's mannerisms and everything. But the show itself, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, especially two particular songs,
Tell which ones?
Biology, which is
Right.
sung by
Yeah, no, I know the show well.
mom.
I have a kid who's been in it. So
Okay.
when you have
I
a
think
kid who's
Biology
been
is
in
such
a
a weird
show,
song when you think about like she's
it
singing about
really is a weird song. Such a weird song. I am there with you on that one.
And then I think Parents Lie is such a strange song. Like a side of me thinks that it's like interesting because it's very subversive and like being honest with kids and stuff. But then
Right.
it takes it too far. And I don't think that whatever her name is, I forget the name of the teen. I don't
Ellie.
think that she would do that to her brother. I don't think she would be that mean and saying that hugs are a lie and that it goes too far. And you see, and the kid did a great job. That you see him getting more and more devastated as the song goes along. And you're just like, this is mean. And so in a way, I kind of appreciate that it's very subversive, but on the other hand, I don't think it quite works. I don't know. It's a weird show.
Yeah. So I've always had mixed feelings about Freaky Friday too. Especially Biology. I'm right there with you. When my daughter did Freaky Friday at the Ziegfeld, the cast that she was in, the girl who played Ellie, I think it's Ellie. Now my brain is
Teen.
questioning it. But the girl who did that really actually made me like Parents Lie, which but I hear exactly what you're saying with it. Especially because sometimes when you've got difficult parents and you and challenges a lot around with that, and then dealing with grieving and whatever else, like it's one of those things where it's like you feel like a kid wouldn't go that far, and yet, and I guess me being a therapist as well, I've seen kids go that far. And so I feel that one sometimes more, but the Biology one, like it's a bit of a creepy song.
Yeah, it really
It's
is.
a creepy song.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. In the Heights at the Grand, and that was really great. Well done. Especially all the female actors were particularly strong in that. But great set work, production design, all of that was wonderful. Great dancing, and that was very good.
That's one of my favorite shows of all time. I often like get flack from people because if I'm going to choose between Hamilton or In the Heights, I'd probably go to a production of In the Heights. Like, I love Hamilton for what it is, but I love In the Heights so much.
Yeah, it's real. I'd be torn. I saw Bright Star at Lehigh Arts, and it was absolutely amazing. You all know how much I love that show.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it again they're doing it at the Empress in August. I'm going to see it again. I love that show so much. And it was, I mean, I was ready to kind of give it a pass because this is tiny, tiny little theater, but I was so impressed. It was great. And then I saw Once at Hill Orem, and really good. They're all playing their own instruments, which is unique.
Yes, that's the nice thing about Once. And if they do it right, then yeah, they're all playing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I did feel like it could have been staged better because it was one of those theater and around where I felt like they were speaking away from me almost. I felt like the whole show practically. And so they have to be careful with that at Hale. Because I've even had that happen in Hale Sandy, where it feels like all the staging is directed the other way. And I'm like, I wish I'd known. I would have gotten my tickets.
I would have gotten my tickets there. Yep. Absolutely.
Speaking of Hale, I saw Hans Christian Andersen in New York. And
how was that?
I would just say it's not ready.
Got it.
Like, it's interesting to see something in process. And I do appreciate the fact that Hale Sandy did something new, because they tend to, I feel like
they tend to stick with what's comfortable.
And I feel like they copy other places a lot. Like, you'll see something that's successful at Hale Orem, and all of a sudden the next year it's at Hale Sandy, or something at Centerpoint or Pioneer Theater. Like, Pioneer Theater did Hello Dolly this year. Oh, and then now Sandy's doing Hello Dolly. I don't know. That's just
I agree with you completely. So.
Yeah. So I appreciate they did something new. It's just the story is just not there. Like, there's all these characters they do just nothing with. Like, even there's like a ghost of Hans Christian Andersen there, because it's like his great nephew or something, and they give him nothing to do. Like, he just is kind of like makes commentary a few scenes, but and then there's this woman who's a mail lady person, and she's like, her only role is to come in and deliver this like Sears Roebuck or whatever catalog, and that's it. Like, she had no. It's like, why is this person in this show? It's just not ready. But it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of keep working on it and how it evolves. And then I saw Hello Dolly, which had some of the most amazing production I think I've ever seen, certainly at Hale. This incredible train sequence where this full size train comes all the way through onto the stage. And that was extremely impressive. And I don't think I've ever seen more confetti in my life than they had in that show. But I don't love Hello Dolly. I just
neither do I.
It's just the story. It has a couple of good songs, but I just not my favorite. But it was still fun. And then last, I saw The Wedding Singer at Heritage, and this is definitely the best show that I've seen from them. I just thought the singing, the dancing, the just pretty much everything. And I think it's kind of an underrated show. It has some really good bops in it.
Yeah, it really does have some good bops in there, and that's fun. My friends directed that, so that's
Oh,
fun
really?
that it did well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That Someday is such a good song that she sings at the beginning. Someday when it's
Yeah.
me. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about some of our favorites for this whole year so far. I'll put a link down. I did my best of so far 2023, and it was really fun. It definitely makes the job worth it when you have moments like this, because people got really excited when I posted it, and it's nice to brighten people's day because they don't get enough praise, these small productions.
Right.
So
Sure.
yeah. So I saw 45 shows. And so I just decided, because the 2 previous years I'd given best musical to Bright Star. Ziegfeld and it's Centerpoint, because I just love it so much. And so I decided I would just recognize both of the Bright Stars at the beginning, and, and then give something else the best musical. But I did love at Hope Box and at Lehigh Arts Council. They were both outstanding. They were so good. So yes, I had that up front. And then I had, for best musical, I had Fiddler on the Roof, a production, a theater house called Regalo Theater Company in Lehigh. And they put on the productions at, I think it's called Sky Ridge High School Auditorium. Everything I have seen from them has been outstanding. I saw Shrek musical, which is one of my favorites, actually. I love that musical. I think it's so funny. I saw that there. I saw White Christmas there, which was really good. And then I saw this there, and it's just, you wouldn't believe that you can see this quality of a production at a high school in Lehigh. I mean, it was great. Yeah. I mean, everything. The costumes were wonderful. The production was great. I really loved how they used lighting for the fiddler, and then also for certain the ballet sequences, like Havela's ballet sequence. That was beautiful. The dancing was all great. It was just so good. So that was my pick. What about you? What would you pick as the best musical you've seen?
So, and I feel very behind compared to you, but I have done a lot of traveling this year, the beginning of this year, way more than normal. And it's going to slow down after the end of this month. I'm not doing nearly as much. It's like I packed it all at the beginning of this year. So hopefully my second half of this year will be more theater, less travel. But I saw 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee in February at Hope Box.
Oh, nice.
And I know we've talked about Hope Box a little bit, but just to remind everybody, Hope Box is a theater in Kaysville, Utah, and all of their proceeds that don't go for production costs and whatever go to help a family with cancer. And so, like, I love their mission. I love that that's what they do with community theater, that they're helping people out. So,
but I love that they pick a particular Hope Box recipient for each show.
Yes, exactly. And so you know who you're donating to, you know about that person. It's lovely. But I also love that show. I love 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It's not done very often. A lot of the reason why people don't do it around here is because the original Broadway production does have some offensive stuff in it, but there is a toned down community version.
Yeah.
And that's
I saw it on Broadway in 2006.
Yeah.
And when I first saw they were doing it out here, I can't remember who it was that first did it. I went and saw it, and I was like, oh, okay, they changed that.
Yeah, and there's a licensing thing. You can license the toned down version, and that's the other thing. Like, I've actually had this conversation with people because they're like, isn't that against the rules to do that? And it's like, no, they have a licensed toned down version so that high schools can do it and people can do it. So the actual writers wrote the alternative song and everything.
Well, I was going to ask you about this though. Do you know, because you did I think you reviewed the Matilda at Centerpoint for UTBA.
Yeah.
they cut out a lot in
Yeah,
that show. And
I
they didn't even have the brother. He was completely
yeah,
missing.
and that's actually something I don't remember who I attended it with, but it must have been one of my kids because we were like, wait, what? It must be a rewrite, and I need to research it more because yeah, the brother being gone is weird to me. I
Yeah.
know in the junior version, which is the version that I helped costume with my kids when they were in it, that the brother is gone. But then seeing the brother gone in a larger production, I'm wondering if there was a rewrite because you can't
Yeah.
license a version and perform like that and just cut something out. So there has to have been a rewrite somewhere,
Yeah, it'd
which
be interesting to
happens
know. I
too.
wondered about that.
Yeah, which happens too, that there are often rewrites or whatever. Like the most famous rewrite is the Scarlet Pimpernel, which went through 4 different versions. The version you see now is version 4.0. And I happened to live in New York during the Scarlet Pimpernel era, and so I saw 3 of the versions on Broadway. And then now what you see in community theater is completely different than all the versions I saw on Broadway.
Well, I know Adam's Family was the same,
Yeah,
that it went
yeah.
through a lot of
And
versions. And then the version for the community theaters is
yeah,
actually different than one on Broadway.
yeah, exactly. And so a lot of people don't realize that, you know, a lot of times these shows are works in progress, even when they're on stage. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so having said that, yeah, most of the time, the vast majority of companies you see here in Utah are doing the PG-13 version of
Yeah.
spelling bee.
Well, and I know that like some of the companies like Hale and Thing, like they pay for each change that
Yep.
is made. So they were
Yeah, if you
actually
make more changes, you have to pay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So last year, Good Company did the original Broadway version, because Good Company does do more, and they put up warnings and they say,
Mhm.
hey, we're doing this, and it was nice to see, you know, the original version too. And I'm not one
Yeah.
who shies away from that kind of subject matter, but it's also nice to know what you're going into, and so that you can tell people, hey, don't go see this version. And it's nice to
Yeah.
have the other version out there too, so that people can see these things, see these stories, and not get so offended by it. So
Yeah,
it,
well,
yeah,
that was so annoying to me when I saw Wedding Singer at Heritage. There were people like grumbling, and I'm like, they could not have made it more clear what this show was.
yep,
They have it all over the advertising, they have it all over the website, they have it all, and then they had literally someone come up at the beginning and say, "This is what's this is what's happening,"
mhm,
and I think it's good that a theater company like that stretches beyond Disney.
yep,
We don't want to only see particularly like they're still going to do Disney at Heritage. They're doing Little Mermaid, I think, coming up.
yep,
And so it's good to
yeah,
push
to
yourself a
stretch,
little
yep,
bit. Mm.
yeah, no, well, but I mean, Utah audiences are interesting
Yeah.
because
Well, we should probably mention this whole thing at Ziegfeld with Kinky
oh
Boots.
yes, yes. Let me make one other point, and
Oh
we'll bring
yeah, yeah.
that up. But yeah, no, because when I did Nonsense right before the pandemic at Terrace, we had people walking out of Nonsense all the time, which is just funny that they would. But what was really funny about it was right before we had done Nonsense, Ziegfeld had done Mamma Mia, and no one walks out of Mamma Mia. But if you think about the subject matter of Mamma Mia, it's more
Yeah.
offensive than Nonsense.
Or
But
like every theater in this area has done Drowsy Chaperone, and the Drowsy Chaperone
yeah,
is loaded with innuendo.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but anyway, I loved it. I loved 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I felt that the cast was really well done, really well thought out.
Oh,
Something that I've
fun.
loved about Hope Box in general is that they don't always do traditional casting. They don't shy away from different sizes. They
Yeah.
don't shy away from different just anything. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was well done. So
Yeah.
that would have been my favorite. But yes, let's talk about Kinky Boots for a
Yeah,
second.
so our friends at the Ziegfeld Theater in Ogden putting on Kinky Boots. I'm really bummed that I'm going to be in Kansas for the opening weekend, or I would review it for UTB. I hope somebody else
Yeah.
does.
No, someone's got that one
Oh,
already.
good, good, good.
So
Because they're doing Kinky Boots, and they had put on their website student day student
And
discount?
and let me give the background, because I actually have a really, really long history with the Ziegfeld. I had my wedding reception at the
Oh,
Ziegfeld.
you did?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, my family and I, instead of having a traditional wedding reception, we put on a show. It's
Oh,
a
that's
thing.
cute.
It was so much fun because I'm remarried, and my husband and I together we have 6 kids, and so
Yeah.
it was just this thing we wanted to involve all our kids. So we wrote like a little 20-minute show, and all the kids
Oh, that's
participated and
so
whatever else,
cute.
and the Zig they let us rent out the theater for really not very expensive. If you ever need to rent out a theater, the Zig, give them a little plug. They didn't give us any money for this, but to give them a little plug. They'll
Yeah.
rent out the theater, and they helped us with the tech and everything else, and it ended up being cheaper than a traditional reception. I mean, they were fantastic. But I've known the people who own the Zig for a long time, and they work really well with UTBA and whatever else. But they do a student night
Yeah.
every show.
Right.
They've always done a student night where people from elementary on to college students get in for cheaper. That's just something that they've done for every single show since they've opened up. And the Ziegfeld is an old movie theater that Caleb and Morgan Perry, when they decided to move back to Utah, took some money that they had invested, and they revamped this old movie theater into a stage theater. And that's just something they do to try and get what is already affordable theater, because the Ziegfeld is affordable, good theater, and make it more affordable for students and offer it to students. So yeah, that's the background of that.
Right. Yeah. And I saw Bright Star there, and it won for best musical.
Yeah, they're
in that
Bright
year.
Star.
It was
I
so
talked to
good.
Caleb. I reviewed Bright Star, and I talked to Caleb for like 20 minutes after the show about his because he directed it and he did the set design. And
Amazing.
his set design concept and some of the things that he did. I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a door that he had follow the main character during the whole show, that it was doing different things. Like sometimes it was a table, sometimes it was a door.
Oh, now you mention it, I remember that. Yeah.
But he had it just following her as part of the
Ugh,
story and
so
the
good.
set design. And it was genius. It was beautiful as a piece of theater. Like, yeah, that Bright Star was amazing.
And I saw Grease there, and that was excellent. The less said about their rent, the better. It was not great, but I appreciated the effort, and they're great. They're wonderful. And yeah, so they announced that they're having this student night, and somehow some troll found it and decided that they're like preying on children because they're having a student night, which is so ridiculous. And it can literally mean any student. We have all of these colleges here. It could mean high school, it could mean any student. And there's a big warning right on the website that says this is for PG, is like PG-13 basically kind of content and everything. And
and then also when you go to any of their shows too, they announce things upcoming in their season, and they always say this one's more of a kids show, this one's more of a
it's so got the attention of these anti-drag people, you're grooming children and all this, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And so I hope people in this area will go out and support them in doing this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's also really important for people to understand that when you do look at these kinds of shows too, to learn about things that are different than maybe your own belief set too, and whatever, because I've seen Kinky Boots. I saw it on Broadway. I've seen it other times, and like there are things that are so much less offensive. I mean, more offensive than this. And also in some of the flack that they've been getting, there was a lady who had gone and sent them a message saying, who is student night for? And they just sent back a generic message that says, our discount is available for students kindergarten through college. And so then that's where she went back and said, see, they're targeting children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like, okay.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it's interesting what you have to deal with trying to do creative things in Utah sometimes. But Let's see what so let's change gears a little bit and talk about the best play. And this was hard for me because I've seen some really good plays. I saw Harvey at the Grand, and that was hilarious, really good. I saw Emma at the Parker, and that was really good. But it had to go to the very first production I saw this year. Had to go to Pride and Prejudice at Hale Orem. This was adapted by local playwright Melissa Leone Larson, who
Yes.
I've become, I guess, quote unquote friends with, like internet friends over
Right.
the years. I
Right.
actually
Same here. Yeah.
I interviewed her years and years ago when she wrote a movie called Freetown, which I really enjoyed. And then I interviewed her for UTBA for this. So I've interviewed her twice. She's amazing. And I thought she did such an incredible job of adding her own flair, making it new without taking away from the story that we all know and love. So it just had a few little kind of touches and different interesting things added to make it a script. And I saw both casts; they were both excellent. It was really fun. And I'm a huge Austen person, but I loved it.
I was so sad that I didn't get to see it because I heard so much good things about it. I had
So good.
so many people. My sister-in-law went and saw that twice as well. And just so many people just going on and on about like saying that they hope that she adapts more Austen works and that she like just floored with how good this was. So yeah, I'm kind of jealous that it just, but it's hard for me to get down to Utah County and it's hard to work out everything. And so I just was really sad. And I hope that it gets more traction and is done other places because it just sounds like it
Well,
was so well done.
next year they're doing it at the Grant. So you
Oh,
get to see it there.
wonderful. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's way easier for me to get to the
Yeah.
ground. So that's
Yeah.
good. That's good to know. Thank you
Yeah.
for telling me.
So do you have a play that you've seen this year that you want to shout
So
out?
I kind of feel bad because I went back and I looked at all of mine and I feel bad even saying this because I sound just like a proud mom. But I loved at my daughter's high school, they did 12 Angry Jurors, and I really loved what my daughter's teacher had done by doing two different casts, and they did an all male cast and an all female cast. And I went and I saw both, and it was really fascinating from a psychological perspective watching how that turned out because it was like seeing two completely different shows. I mean, script is exactly the same, the direction was exactly the same, but I had one of the students, one of the male students had said to me that with the guys, it was like just a bomb goes off right at the beginning of the show. And with the ladies, it's like a slow simmer. And until the anger comes out and whatever else. And that was a really good assessment of that.
Yeah.
And my daughter played juror number 10, which is really one of the worst jurors, like really a horrible person. And her counter who played juror number 10 too, like he had seemed so awful throughout the show that you like, and he's a good kid, as a normal kid, like, but you hate him from the beginning. But my daughter, she played it a little more subdued so that when she gets to her terrible monologue, like it kind of like gut punched you with how terrible the things that she was saying was. And I was very impressed with these kids. And it again reminds me of, you can see good theater everywhere. And I've had this conversation with so many people who will say things to me about, well, I wish I could go and see so much Broadway like you did, or I wish I could expose my kids to this and whatever. And I always tell them, you can expose your kids to good theater right here in your backyard for so cheap. You can go and see shows at the high school for $7 or $10. You can go and see shows at the community theater for 10 or $20 for the cost of a movie. You can give people this same experience.
Yeah. And I almost think it would maybe be even more sort of motivating for kids to see local productions that aren't perfect and feel like, oh, maybe I could actually do that.
Right.
That looks fun.
Especially when it's people you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cool to sit there and be like, I know that person on the stage, and so
Mhm.
I could do that same thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had a couple, I don't know if you have any acting accolades, but I have a couple that I wanted to. I mean, I already mentioned Tanner Tate for Jekyll and Hyde. He was so good, especially from going the different like transformation scenes
Uh-huh.
where he's like half
Oh
Jekyll,
yeah.
half
Yeah.
Hyde,
And
and you're
that
like,
takes
oh,
so much talent in that
so
show.
good. So good. I really wish I could have gone to both casts because I just feel bad for the other guy because this guy was so good. Like, how could he possibly be as good as this guy? But anyway, and then the best performance in a play that I saw was an actor named Matthew De La Fuente, and he is the grandson in the Over the River and Through the Woods and at Covey Center in Provo. I reviewed it for UTBA, and I really felt like he was the grandson of these people. And it's kind of a cheesy play, but I thought that he did an incredible job, like paying attention to details in his performance. Like at the end, he's having to move for his job, and he was such a believable crier. He did a great job with that. And then he uses his tie to dry his tears. And because I just thought that was indicative of the kind of performance he was giving, because he's having to move because of business, because of a job, right? And he's wiping his tears with his tie. And I just he was I'd see anything with him. I thought that he was really good and elevated the whole play. So it was
Wow.
fun to see. And then the best ensemble that I saw was at the Empress and their staging of Company.
Mm.
I was so impressed. It's such a hard show for a local production to do. It just requires so many good singers that have so many different, parts. So it really takes a big ensemble. But I thought I really liked the lead who played David Nichols, played Robert. And then Sarah Murphy played Joanne, and she was really good. She nailed Ladies Lunch. And then Caitlin Johnson as Amy, and they did a girl couple for that.
Mm.
So her getting married today is something that stayed with me. I've thought about it many times, and it was great, and it was just a wonderful production. It had flaws. It's local small theater, but I thought it was very entertaining. And the last thing that I wanted to give a shout out to is the Kensington Theater in South Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
They did a version of Into the Woods, and I'm not the biggest Into the Woods
Yeah, that's
person.
not a show that you love so much.
No, I don't love it, but it was undeniably wonderful. I couldn't not give it praise because it was so well done. And what was really cool is it's part of their ABC program, which is their adult boot camp,
Mm.
where they take these adults and they give them a chance to uh, perform together, and they put on the show, I think, kind of quickly, and then
Huh.
they help mentor teens through this ABC program. And so this was one of those, and it was outstanding. Everything about it was really good, and it was very funny because the lady, not only she got up, I think it was director, producer, or whatever, she gets up and she's like, she was wearing an Into the Woods dress, by the way, with like the playbill on the dress.
Oh,
Um,
that's funny.
yeah. And she's like, please don't leave in intermission.
Right?
Made me laugh because I'm like, you all know me. Because I would never leave an intermission, but like I don't love the second act of Into the Woods. I understand its purpose, but anyway, that was really funny. I thought,
Right,
please don't
right.
leave. But it was so good. I was really, and what's so cool about Kensington is they have a full orchestra pit, like a real
Oh, I
pit
love
in the
that. I
ground.
love that. Oh,
I've never seen, like, it's literally on the stage. There's this big open pit, and down there are the orchestra. I've never, like, you hear that orchestra pit. I've never actually seen a real pit. And but to have real orchestra, especially in Into the Woods, makes such a difference.
right. So I was just kind of quickly trying to see if I can find some names. But the woman who I saw play Tina Turner in this Tina
Oh,
Turner
yeah.
musical, Naomi Rogers, wow, it was like you were watching Tina Turner. Like I just could not, like, I couldn't believe that it wasn't her,
Did they
just
do that
flawless.
encore to like 2
Yes,
songs at the end?
yes,
Oh, so cool.
so fun, so flawless.
I don't know
Um,
how you have that much energy after that
no,
huge long show to
seriously.
do those songs.
Seriously, and night after night, like it just, yeah. But I was looking up the final pieces of Weber State Theater's show every year. They call it Innovations Theater, and it's always just the culmination of their senior class. They do like they
Oh,
write
yeah.
they write and produce and direct and costume and everything their own productions. And this year, the very last, there was 4 pieces, and the very last one was called 5150. And it was directed by someone named Madison Grissom, and it was wonderful. Um, and because it was all about mental health and suicide and self-harm, and just the level, what I wrote here in my review, I wrote the level of professionalism and tackling of difficult topics shows how they have grown in the art form and their education, and that they are learning not to just replicate theater but create and develop theater. And I felt that especially because, like, even the title 5150 refers to a specific law about mental health and detaining someone without their consent when they are determined to be a danger for themselves. And it's just like the fact that they researched all that and they understand all that. And in this show, the person's emotions and feelings were represented by other people. And the way that they had done the costuming and the makeup and everything to represent those feelings. I had brought my teenage daughter with me, and she was just so deeply moved and impressed by all of this. And to me, that was really probably that particular part of these innovation pieces was just so beautiful in showing what theater education in our colleges here in Utah is doing.
There's so much impressive stuff happening at the college campuses that, I mean, we've had Godspell, which
Yeah.
was great at BYU. We've had Cabaret, which was great at the U of U. And then this you're telling me about at Weber State. And I'm sure there's lots of others as well. And the fact that even BYU is doing like challenging stuff, it's just really
Right.
interesting.
Right.
Exciting. Yeah, that's cool. That sounds good. Well, let us know if you're listening what you have been watching as far as on the stage. We'd love to hear your favorites. And if you've seen any of the shows that we've talked about, we'd love that. And I'll put a link down to the Ziegfeld. So if y'all want to, if you're in the area, you can support them with Kinky Boots. And thanks so much, man, for coming on and talking with us. It's always so much fun.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. So where can people follow you on social media and all that?
Yeah, on
fun stuff?
Instagram, I'm just Maren Swenson. Same on Facebook. On TikTok, I'm under Doc Broadway. And of course, at Utah Theater Bloggers, you can catch all of our reviews.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews Theater.com, where I've been posting my logs after I decided to not call it a review because I didn't want to be like constrained by, oh, you got to mention this and this and this and this. I just wanted it to just be sort of my response, my reaction. So I called a log, my theater log. So anyway, you can go there. I'll put a link down to that. And then also make sure you're following all my social media, Rachel's Reviews. I like to post out of the theater reactions to everything I see, both film and theater. And so check that out. This is a rare week where I don't have anything theater wise because I'm leaving on Thursday and I have a film screening every single night on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it's busy. But anyway, check that all out. I would be very grateful. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. I'll have a link to the playlist with all the Theater Tuesday content. You want to check that out, and check out the patron group. That helps so much, and the merch store. And thanks again, Maren, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.